Okay, here's two bad things right off. And I forget, the ratio was 1 to 7 maybe, I can't remember, 1 to 7. If you don't have 1 to 6, you've got a horrible formula. Blessed Herbs used all their formulas, which Richard Schultz would praise them in his books. That was 1 to 5, and I told Michael, I said, I want mine 1 to 4. What's the strongest you can make mine and still produce a tincture out of it, where you can halfway have a power hog, but halfway be able to sell it on the market? Because there's a point, like MediHerbs, where you're at 1 to 1, 1 to 2 concentrates, but you're not. You have 2 distillation processes. Well, you get too far out there, you start losing the power of the herb, in my opinion. I just know what herbs. That's been my plants are my love. I've been back in those areas consciously. That's my field. That's my love. So I know when a plant isn't happy. I know when a plant knows what it knows, and I'm a communicator of plants. So it's all about all of that. Having them distilled long enough, and another thing I do is I have all my herbs distilled together. Most companies say, all right, you have a little, let's say, comfrey, and they have all these individual herbs distilled separately, and then they just mix whatever proportion of each one of the herbs you want. So much juniper berry, so much plantain, so much whatever, marshmallow, whatever. Nah, I want them to buddy up. I want them to have time to merge together and become a powerhouse, because it's just like on this side. We're more powerful as a group than we are as one. Even though as a group, we must act as one. So thanks, C. Basie, and play me a tune. What makes your music more outstanding than the next? Because you're good at what you do, C. Basie. I mean, look at kind of knew he was going to get kicked off. He's very good at that music, but very few people like jazz type music. That is American Idol. But what makes those guys up there at the top 7 now? Because they're good at what they do. What makes Jimmy so good at what he does? Fleetwood Mac. What made Fleetwood Mac so good at what they did? They became their music. They literally became their music. I became my herbs, if you know what I'm talking about. Here is Footsie Free. Love the name, cute. I'm pretty much raw and eating veggies and some fruit plus very little meat. I would love, and that's okay, I would love to do more fruit, but it seems my body cannot handle the sugar content in them. Well, keep in mind, it isn't necessarily the sugar content. We think we taste something sweet like fruit, and oh, taste that. Now, these bananas aren't so sweet, so you don't feel so much of that in the banana. But let's say you ate a grape, and you said, oh my God, this is sweet, and you ate a piece of bread. Which is sweeter, a piece of bread or a handful of grapes? A piece of bread. So when you think fruit is sweet, if you're eating breads or pastas, you're eating 100 times more sugar. See, just because they're sweet in taste doesn't mean they're high in sugar, and fructose is simple sugar. Fruits are, though, very mean and aggressive on the lymph system. So, yeah, they're interesting. And then a lot of adrenal problems out there and having sugar metabolism problems. So you'll see the difference between fructose and glucose, and some people eating fructose will glucose load because fructose is a different sugar than fructose. We were checking James's. James is a new person here. He's a YouTuber, a raw foodist. We were checking his blood sugar on a fast. He's on a grape fast, and his blood sugar glucose came back 18. Well, now the lab didn't call him, and the lab should have called him and said, we need to recheck that or you're dead. And I told him, I said, well, you got two possibilities. Either she's, or the person that put it together was a little dyslexic because it's 81, or this is a true blood sugar. But they're looking at glucose, not fructose. And the concept that fructose is converted to glucose is bullcrap. Bullcrap, in my opinion. That's just how medical doctors try to describe glucose. But it could have been 18 glucose, but he's getting plenty of fructose. So he would have had ATP and doesn't have a problem, feels very healthy and vital. At 18, he should have been dead. So that you just can't get hung up on things too much. You got to really realize that we're dealing in different levels of chemistries and things like that, and magnetics, and man just is not familiar with the high level and the power of fruit. But work yourself through this. Use some herbs, start detoxing, use fruit in the morning, then vegetables the rest of the day until you can work yourself into a higher level of fruit. You can do that. Always seek your best fruit. Demand your growers and farmers to start getting smarter in how they pick more ripe fruit. We just need to change and I don't know how you make a change like that. I don't know how you make a social change other than the way we're doing it, where more and more, thousands and millions of us start demanding better foods and stuff. That's the only way I know, supply and demand. This is more in the morning than evening. Well, I would then do fruit all morning long, dear one, and then at lunch have a big salad and finish up that. If you want a piece of dead animal, then have that with the salad. No starch whatsoever. Remember, proper food combinations. Plus, I am so full of gas at times. Well, this is another problem that you might have. If you're getting gas with fruits and vegetables, that would suggest a pancreatic weakness where you're not properly breaking down your fruits and your veggies, your carbohydrates, and so you're fermenting your fruits and vegetables. You could have sulfur, and the fruits are breaking the sulfur off of the bowel wall, and you're getting gas from the sulfur, so you want to look for orange around the pupil to see with that, and you could do that. So either way, you could get a picture of your eye. That would be very helpful to you. You can see the pancreas in the eye. You can see sulfur in the eye, so you can determine which one you might have a problem. If you're seeing undigested foods in your stool, by all means, pancreatic. But with that said, you could there's so much antibiotic use with sulfa drugs, you could have that problem as well. Not sure why my bowels react this way so much. Well, fruits are very cleansing and very aggressive to the bowel wall. This could be all sulfur on your bowel wall, and this is an irritant and a gas and that sort of thing. So keep looking at that. Thank you, Linda, for your question there. Beautiful question. But picture of your eye should help you with that. Again, undigested foods would be you're not digesting your food better. I would do a pancreatic capsule formula then. If I was you, 2 or 3 times a day. Clean up the gut. Get up the bowels cleaned up, get your adrenals and kidneys up, and really go after your health issues, and you'll pull out of that and swing into a different level. Oh yes, this is Jarok. This was to Chris, but let's see. He gave it to me, my friend. I'm not familiar with Andre's liver gallbladder flush. I'm real cautious about too much, and I've said this before, overstimulation, overspasming of tissue. It's okay if you really, do it once or something or twice to pop some of the bigger stones and get that out. But just the natural, you're actually in this health modality here. You're actually reversing why you're getting stones. You get stones in an acidic medium where you dissolve them in a base medium. I know you don't recommend algae, but you do use chlorella in your... I do, and you know what? I do it because of the high toxicity of the metals and stuff, and people use that. It's just that I'm not against them in any way, shape, or form. If you want to do palm scum, okay. I don't have a problem with them. I just don't use them like in my superfood blend where you're taking them on a daily basis and stuff. I'm really more a real plant-based instead of a single-celled organism in that way, even though we can say that it's, a very chlorophyll-rich thing. That's okay. I don't have a problem with them. But I'm more of a fruit, berry, and melon person in terms of that. But I have no problem with people doing it. And I'm not really overdown on that. And during a detoxification, I think it's good to set those things to aside and then later revisit them, okay? I'm okay with all things except real isolates. Where you're getting in your minerals isolated, your amino acids isolated, and some of this other bizarre chemistry out there that takes you nowhere. I was reading a lady was just in from must be my Friday, Hippocrates. And I've had many people in from the Hippocrates across the state, and she brought me in their latest recommendations, and I just couldn't believe that that they were at that level. If anything, they're becoming much more antagonistic to Ann Wigmore, because the supplement was ridiculous. The high silver. You just can't get the body like that. You just can't overcome these cancers and things like this, the heavy lymphs and the acidosis with those protocols. I thought those protocols, now you could say, they have the right to say that about me, and my protocols are ridiculous. So Brian, you can say that about me all you want. I'm a big guy, I got broad shoulders, but I think your protocols are ridiculous. I think what you need to do is get into botanicals and focusing on why you're a detox place and why you're a health center, and get away from this medical thinking. I've heard that this only goes for the broken cell. Well, I've heard that too. Jensen was really hot on the broken cell chlorella as opposed to spirulina. I've read studies where spirulina is a far superior algae, but at the same time, Jensen, I have some old, straight from Japan. We have some high physicians in Japan that do have some incredible chlorella drinks, and I have some very old now, but Jensen, you had him stocked up all over the place because he never took it, but they gave it to him, and he had bottles of some really fine stuff. So I don't have a problem if one wants to take that, but at the same time, I'm more thinking of detox. I'm pretty balanced in the way I think nowadays, but I just don't recommend those things for people. You can recommend a laundry list of things, but when it becomes a financial issue, as you see a lot of people have financial issues, you want to put your money where you're going to get the most bang for the buck. And my work is you're going to get the most bang for the buck when you focus on those tissues most responsible for the problems in humans, and what's happened to these tissues by these omnivorous high-protein diets. And that's going to be urinary and GI tract tissue specifically, and how it relates to fluids and digestion and absorption and nutrition. And by fixing these, you see the wellness returning or developing in a person that never had it before. So it's just our focus in getting well. Outside of that, I don't care how people live, what balance they find, none of my business. But we're practitioners, and our job is to deal with those people that are sick and hurting and getting well, and then we get them well. Go in life and take what you've learned from us and adapt your lifestyle to the way you're comfortable with. High stress lifestyles, you'll see, and you take on a lot of responsibility and stress, you eat differently. You just see that. So I guess the whole thing here is in the process of getting well, you're developing your awareness of life and God from a high spiritual viewpoint, which spiritual viewpoint is an undefined viewpoint. I can say that the definition would be only one where you see a oneness of all things, how all things are part of the whole. That's the first part of spirituality. Not the highest, that's the first part where I see you and me being one together in creation with all other things. That's the first rung of the ladder. And that then opens the heart and gives respect and love to others. Even we might have different viewpoints, but we respect their different viewpoint. Don't tell medical doctors they are morons that they know nothing about drugs and surgery. Let's see, this is a 5-Tony VVV. Yeah, this is the thing. And I've said this before. I'm definitely hard on the medical community. And I'm hard on them because these are a bunch of lost souls that have and I think it just goes with the whole concept of the Rockefeller or the whole control and things. If you'll look at this, if you look at that modality from the outside, you'll see that whole fear, control-based thing. If you ever had cancer and visited oncologists, you'll know firsthand because it's all over the place.